Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today's episode, we're talking about how if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Am I right, Laura? I think I got that a little backwards.
You got a little bit. If you want it done right, you don't have to do it yourself. That's the point of this.
There you go. We're talking about delegation. I have an expert here who's going to blow your mind and make you think a little bit differently about how you delegate in order to grow your business, get your time back, and probably your sanity as well. But Laura Watson, before we go any further, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Brandon. It's great to be here.
I love the shift where, I heard that that phrase as a kid growing up. If you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. And as entrepreneurs, we quickly realized that's a great way to never actually get anything done and just be stressed out all the time. So
stressed out and limit our growth and possibilities because there's only 24 hours in a day. We have to sleep and recuperate a few of those. And so, there's only so much we can do. And, whether you're a solopreneur or a small business owner or a C-level executive, leadership is really about getting things done through other people. We have to let go of that do-it-yourself mindset and really learn how to achieve goals and objectives and get work done through others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if because I hear this from solopreneurs a lot, like, well, I don't have anybody on my team. All right, you could hire a VA. Like there are ways to delegate. You have kids, that's a built-in workforce. So use them.
Sometimes free labor.
That's even better than paying somebody is using your own children. But no, so I mean, but in all seriousness, what I also see is people try to delegate and then the task comes right back to them because they didn't delegate effectively. And I don't think you're going to convince us to delegate today. I think you're going to try to convince us that we need to do it the right way so that we never see that task again. So I want to start there and just ask your experience. When you talk to people about delegation, how often do they say, I've tried that, it doesn't work?
I've heard that a lot. And I get it. My owners, my clients are telling me the same thing. It's like, I've tried to delegate, it doesn't work. I just, what I get back isn't what I wanted, the way I wanted. And so it's just easier to do it myself. And so that's a very, limiting mindset that they get into. And and they want to point the finger at the person that they're delegating to and say it's their fault. They didn't get it. And what I have to gently inform them is that it's probably not the fault of the person they delegated to. It's actually how they delegated. That's the issue. They think they're being clear, and the person they're delegating to is going, I got it. So they think they have clarity, but they actually don't. And so this whole idea of if you want it done right, you don't have to do it yourself. I wish I could claim ownership of that phrase, but I can't. It's actually the title of a fabulous book that I recommend to my clients when we're having this conversation. It's a short 1-hour read. It's got pictures, it's got cheat sheets, it's available on Amazon. And it's just it's a story actually of two managers. One manager's doing awesome and the other one is totally stressed out. And he's stressed out because he's not delegating effectively. So that little book is a precursor for how I coach my clients on how to delegate more effectively. And it starts with them and how they're having the conversation.
I love that. I haven't heard of the book. Maybe we could change some of the words and give you the trademark. Maybe you shouldn't do it yourself. Maybe that one's available. I don't know.
But, I'll look into that later.
Yeah. No, I love the concept though. I think this is phenomenal. So once you get through to them that, okay, maybe we're not doing it the right way, the most effective way, maybe there isn't enough clarity or instruction, whatever it may be, then what do we have to do? Because obviously that could be a hard pill to swallow for some people. And then there's more work to be done, which is even worse, because then we have to, okay, either build a process or get more specific, more clear. How do we then approach delegation the right way?
It really is about the clarity and I'm going to say confirmation of your communication. So if you're delegate, and then it gets into the topic of levels of authority when you're delegating. So for example, sometimes you're delegating just a task. I need you to do X, and there's a very sort of low level of authority versus I'm delegating a project. And then their project might have a higher level of authority where you're there's budgets attached to it, there's accountability attached to it, and a number of steps, and even the person you're delegating to might be delegating to others. So there's a level of authority to be clear about when we're delegating so that the person knows how far they can go with something. But then one of the most important and easiest skills that someone can integrate immediately when they're delegating is the skill of active listening. And active listening is about having people paraphrase back to us their understanding of our communication. So I have a lot of leaders when they're delegating, they ask their people, do you understand? Do you get it? And that's when they're nodding and saying, yeah, because they don't want to look silly or unknowledgeable in front of their boss. So of course they're going to nod and say, and then leave their office and like, what was that? So instead of a leader asking, do you get it? Or do you understand? They need to change the question to simply, what do you understand? What are you hearing me communicate? And then the person that they're having the conversation with has an opportunity to share, to reflect back. Here's my understanding of what you want me to do, or here's my understanding of the project. And that's when the leader has an opportunity to really hear, does this person get it? Or did they as a leader miss something in their delegation? So now they can revisit it and communicate again. Or does this person truly not get it the way they need to get it? And that gives the leader an opportunity to re-communicate what needs to happen and what the parameters are. So that's one of the easiest, most powerful things a leader can do to improve their delegation skills right off the top, is just get people to active listen them.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good tip. And you'd be surprised how quickly you'll see the return on just reframing your questions. Because
Mm-hmm.
you may be working with someone for 5 years and you ask them this and it's not even close to the answer that you were expecting. Um,
Exactly.
I do that, I do that with my wife, my kids, and just to see, like, did this come across? Not that I'm delegating things, but how are other people hearing what I'm saying? It's a good check-in. It's just a good way to see, like, am I consistently communicating effectively, or do I get lazy?
Absolutely. Delegation is about communication. So
Hmm.
yes, whether you're delegating to your direct reports in the office or to your kids at home, that's what I love about communication skills is they're transferable to all areas, of our life. So yeah, it's a simple little tweak, but it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. So then talk to me about the flip side of delegation. If whether you're one of those people who you've delegated and it, air quotes, doesn't work for you, or you're a seasoned pro, you think, what I see a lot is when people start to delegate or start to just hand off more things to free up their time, then they don't necessarily know what to do with all that free time because their calendar is not effectively structured, and then they go micromanage everything they
Oh.
delegated. So how do we keep our sticky fingers out of the things that we're trying to delegate?
Well, that's an interesting question because, and there's two things that come to mind for me on that. One thing is, which is a little bit different than your actual question, is that a lot of leaders, they think they're delegating, but what they're actually doing is abdicating. They're like, oh, go, you take this, run with it. They hand off and just think it's going to happen. And so they kind of abdicate everything and they don't set up check-in about progress reports or how's it going kind of stuff. They just completely hand off until a month later or whenever it's due, and then think it's going to magically show up on their desk. So that's something that leaders have to be mindful of, is to delegate, not abdicate. And then to the other point of your question, which now you have to remind me what it was. Oh, what do they do with all their time?
Yeah.
What they do with their time is they really should be going back to their business plan, which, if they have one, which I find lots of people don't, probably got shelved somewhere along the line and might be collecting real or virtual dust, which means that goals and objectives are probably not being met. They're not being focused on. So, if that magical thing happens where they actually have time freed up in their day, instead of, micromanaging, they should be revisiting their business plan, their goals and objectives, and reprioritizing what's going on, getting on top of those things again, so that then they can either jump in for whatever is most important for them to do because it's the high value use of their time, or be planning things out so that, again, they can delegate to others to keep those goals moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And what about the building of systems and processes so that something that's delegated once doesn't have to be retrained 7 other times if it's redelegated? And I'm thinking, because that's some things that business owners will tell me about as pushback is, well, I don't have a process built around that, so I can't delegate it yet. And I always tell them, first of all, you can train that person and they could build the process. You don't have to be the one doing it. But talk to me about that, because it's one thing to just delegate something 1 or 2 times, and then that person has the same head knowledge as you, just as ineffective. And it's another thing to actually build a business and a structure that can scale. How do you help people walk through that process?
Yeah, if you're going to scale, and that's all about succession planning and maybe even selling your business down the road, then your business has to be documented. And you don't necessarily have to document it yourself, but you do have to have systems and processes in place that need documentation. So yes, I like your strategy, and I follow it with my clients as they have someone learning a particular process or executing on a particular process, have that person document it. And so that and then at least you've got a beginning point. You've got something on paper that can then be reviewed and discussed, tweaked, finessed, and over time, you have a series of processes built. It really is rooted in Michael Gerber's work from eMyth, where he talks about you have to systematize your business if you're going to scale it. The only problem I found with eMyth is that they talk about what to do, but they don't talk about how to do it, which is why I've fallen in love recently with a book called Traction. And because Traction is kind of eMyth on steroids. It doesn't just talk about what to do, it talks about how to do, whether it's your business plan, whether it's your processes, whether it's your people, your data collection. Traction is a phenomenal resource and their website has all kinds of free tools, which I have definitely integrated into my coaching and use with my clients. And when we actually put these tools into practice, I find that my clients are meeting or exceeding their goals every quarter. So the tools work if you use them.
Yeah, that's the whole thing too. I mean, people want to buy a book and read it and try it and then say it doesn't work, or buy a program, buy a course and say, it didn't work for me. Well, did you do what it said to do? It's better than doing nothing for sure. But yeah, I actually, the eMyth changed my perspective on that a number of years ago when I first read it. I want to say I first read it in college. And I was running another business at the time, and I looked around and I was like, wow, if any one of these key people were to be sick for a day, or leave on short notice or no notice, like that department or division would be set up for failure, at best in some cases. So the how is most important, and there's a million resources out there. I just to be consistent, I have publicly hated on EOS and Traction. on this show because we have cleaned up their mess as consultants on several occasions. So I will be consistent with that. But I always do say it's better than nothing. If you don't have any of this in your business, that is a phenomenal resource. But Laura, like you're saying, it's the actual intention behind what you're doing that matters most. And the intention, I think, is clear from the beginning of this episode. Get things off your plate so that they can free
Mhm.
you to do what you're best suited to be doing. And that you should look through that lens for every single human being in your business. What is every person
Absolutely.
best
You know,
suited to be doing?
owners, managers need to really think about what is the best and highest use of their time.
Yeah.
And right, and be doing that because there are certain things that they are best at. So definitely they need to do what they are best at and delegate the rest, whether that means hiring it like a VA, like you spoke about in the beginning, someone on a temporary basis or part-time basis until they can get a little more traction and grow, right? But yeah, there's so many resources available, even on a part-time basis, so that people can outsource and get the tasks off their desk, off to other people, so that and those people will probably actually end up doing them better, and so that the owner can really stay focused on what they do best.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the name of the book, spot on. Traction. It's such a great word. But yes, what you're saying is so true. It always works out that the person you delegate it to does it better than you in a very short period of time, which is our
Mhm.
biggest fear when delegating is, well, they're not going to do it as well as I will. No, not the first time, because the first time you did it, aren't doing it the same way
Had
you
to
do it
learn
now.
it as well,
Exactly.
absolutely, yes. And however, with the owners already learned it, they now have they can give additional direction. They can
Mhm.
set better parameters and expectations of the task or the item that's being delegated. So they're more likely to get back, what they asked for, especially if they've confirmed and been clear in with their communication in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, this has been a phenomenal conversation, and thank you so much for coming. But where can the listener learn more about you and everything you've got going on?
Yeah, great question. So I've got a website, pretty easy to find, venturecoaching.ca. I've got and there's a free tab on the website. I've got all kinds of free ebook downloads that talk about communication, how to give feedback effectively, how to delegate. So a bit of marketing, sales, and even a business planning tool. So lots of freebies on the website. And then my contact information is there. I'm always open to having a conversation with someone just to sort of point them in the right direction or to even talk to them about working with me as a client because I love helping people get further faster.
I love it. This is so fantastic. If you couldn't tell, yes, Laura is from Canada, so don't mess that up. It's venturecoaching.ca. Wherever you're watching or listening, it's down in the show notes. Go check out those resources. I love it. Laura, thank you so much for being here. And I just realized we also have the same wall color. If you're
Oh, we
listening to the show,
do.
you can't tell. Well, Laura, thank you for being here. This is a great episode.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I hope your listeners got some value today.
Thank you. And for those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, if you're listening, come on to YouTube. You can see that our walls are the same color. Otherwise, make sure you just subscribe on whatever platform you're on. We love putting these episodes out 5 days a week with the goal of helping you build a more harmonious business and life. Let's simplify your business so that it doesn't destroy your life, right? We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.